Hello again, and welcome to another exciting episode of Wayback Wednesday. One of the first movie cameras I ever used was a 1980 Bolex H16 EL 16mm film camera. I loved this camera for so many reasons. It had interchangeable lenses, and unlike other Bolex models, this was electric powered, not spring wound, and I'll get to why that's important in a little bit. You know, the camera itself produced a really nice look when it was combined with the right lens and film stock. It was straightforward. You could accessorize it if you wanted to, but you didn't need to. It was just a great all-around workhorse film camera. Since we're talking old school technology and this is Wayback Wednesday, let's talk about how the spring-wound Bolex was different than the electric model. For starters, the most obvious thing here is that the spring-wound model had to be wound up in order to record. You literally had to hand crank this up and let the spring run out as it went through the shooting process, which was noisy. I mean, this thing made a loud clacking sound, similar to what you'd hear if you were listening to a film projector today. Neither versions of the Bolex recorded audio internally. That goes for the electric one as well as the hand crank one. The big difference is the electric motor on the EL was silent, so you didn't have any external noise to interfere with your shooting process. Because the hand crank version of this camera was so noisy, you literally had to build something called a Barney box to isolate it, which in a lot of ways makes the camera extremely bulky and harder to use. But it does isolate the sound, and this is important because if you're shooting a film and you've got an external audio source that you're recording to, you know, this mechanical sound is going to interfere with everything. And the microphone that's being used is sensitive enough, it's going to pick up the slightest noises. As I mentioned earlier, both versions of this camera had interchangeable lenses, which was great. And it used this turret assembly where you had all three lenses mounted on the front of the camera simultaneously, and you would literally rotate the turret to position the next prime lens that you wanted to use. Having three lenses was great for simple shooting, but you weren't going to do anything on this camera like a follow focus or a zoom because it just wasn't an option. And in some cases, if you were shooting with a really wide lens, let's say a 14mm, you would probably have to remove some of the other lenses because they would literally end up in your frame if you didn't. Especially if you were shooting with a long lens like a 75mm. Because of the quality of this camera and its ease of use, the Bolex 16mm cameras have been used for everything from nature films and documentaries to making archival films for the US military during World War II. And this camera is so popular, it is still one of the go-to cameras for film schools around the world to teach new students on. Directors David Lynch, Terry Gilliam, Will Vinton, Maya Deren, and Spike Lee all began their careers shooting on a Bolex camera. And the Bolex has developed such a cult following that a few years back, a digital version of the camera was introduced. And that brings me to the new school component of Wayback Wednesday. For a decade or so, videographers have been transitioning away from tape-based systems to digital ones. The workflow is easier, and there is so much more you can do with digital footage in post. One emerging trend has been to shoot with DSLR cameras like the Canon 5D Mark III or the Panasonic Lumix GH4. Shooters like the option of being able to switch lenses, which many video cameras don't let you do. I'm one of those guys. I have shot on my Canon 5D Mark II, my Panasonic Lumix GH4, my Olympus OMD EM1. But I have to admit, there is a new JVC camera that I'm kind of falling in love with. And, like my DSLR, interchangeable lenses are one of the reasons that I am really digging JVC's GY LS300 CHU. I like it because there are so many lens options that are available for this interchangeable lens video camera. I really do love the fact that I can use any of my micro four thirds lenses with this camera. From Rokinon Cinema Primes to my Olympus Zuiko powered zoom. There are certain things that my DSLR rigs can't do. They were designed as a still camera, not a video camera. And while they're capable of shooting video and doing it very well, there are certain features that are left out. And that's where the JVC camera comes into play. Shooting on my 5D required me to install Magic Lantern just to get the dedicated features I needed, because Canon didn't design the 5D as a video camera. They added video features to a still camera, and that's a big difference. The 300 CHU shoots 422 full HD at 50 megabit per second. It also shoots 4K and 2K footage. It has a micro four thirds lens mount, which allows you to use any micro four thirds lens. Primes, zooms, powered zooms, cinema primes, it doesn't matter. And if you use an adapter like a speed booster, you can use full frame DSLR lenses on the camera as well. And the 300 CHU has one feature that no DSLR can do. It uses JVC's unique variable scan mapping, which allows you to dynamically map the pixels on the 4K image sensor to your target output resolution. This feature is most useful when shooting in HD. It allows you to zoom with prime lenses and extend the range of zoom lenses with no loss in detail. Not only that, this camera shoots web-friendly proxy file formats simultaneously. It records in H.264 compressed video for immediate delivery to the web if you need to do it. And it features JVC's latest IP communications engine, giving you remote control and monitoring of vital camera functions from a tablet, smartphone, or computer from anywhere in the world. These are things that a DSLR simply can't do straight out of the camera, not without expensive add-ons. And this is so far beyond anything that the folks at Bolex could have dreamed of back in the day. It's pretty slick if you ask me, and I think it's really great to see how far filmmaking has come from the simple Bolex camera that started so many filmmaking careers. Well, this wraps up episode number 4 of Wayback Wednesday. Thank you once again for watching. If you're interested in any information on the JVC Pro line of cameras, look at the links in the video description below. And we will catch you next time on Wayback Wednesday.